You're silently losing your life energy without realizing it. Daily soul-draining habits siphon away your vitality, leaving you inexplicably exhausted despite adequate sleep and a normal routine. So what exactly are these habits? In this video, we'll reveal the 5 hidden habits secretly draining your soul and the exact strategies successful people use to break free from these energy vampires. Plus, we'll share one counterintuitive, soul-draining habit that most experts actually recommend as healthy when it's actually robbing you of your most precious life force. Habit number 1. Are your relationships secretly draining you? First, let's dive into something that affects almost all of us: the way certain relationships silently deplete our energy. You know those days when you see a particular name pop up on your phone from a friend, family member, co-worker, and your stomach immediately drops. Or maybe you've committed to another social gathering where you'll put on that perfect face, laugh at all the right moments, and monitor everything you say. By the time you get home, you're exhausted, though you didn't do anything strenuous. Humans are wired for connection, but the wrong connections deplete our neurochemical resources. Studies show forced social interactions trigger the same stress responses as physical threats. Our brains release cortisol when we're around people who make us feel judged, the same chemicals released during fight or flight situations. Think about Bruce Banner in The Avengers, constantly monitoring his stress levels, knowing certain interactions could trigger his transformation. While we don't turn green, our bodies undergo a similar battle around energy-draining people. So why do you feel so tired after spending time with certain individuals? You're stuck with energy-draining relationships that steal your vitality. The solution: create and enforce healthy boundaries with draining people in your life. Learn to say no without guilt, limit exposure to negative individuals, and be selective about who gets your time. For those you can't avoid, like certain family or co-workers, develop protection strategies like time limits, neutral meeting spots, and emotional preparation rituals. Remember, your energy is a non-renewable resource. Guard it like the treasure it is. Habit number 2. Why do you feel empty even after relaxing? Moving from relationship drains to something equally sneaky. Those moments when me time leaves you feeling worse. You've been looking forward to this all week. A night to yourself. No obligations, no demands. You collapse on the couch, grab your phone, and 3 hours disappear into the scroll hole. Or maybe you've binged during that new show. The strange thing is, instead of feeling refreshed, you feel oddly hollow, even guilty or anxious. This phenomenon has a fascinating neurological explanation. What we choose as relaxation, mindless scrolling, passive content consumption, endless gaming, puts our brains in a limbo state. These activities provide just enough dopamine to keep us engaged, but not enough to satisfy, while demanding zero creativity or meaningful engagement. When we substitute genuine restoration with empty consumption, we create a meaning deficit. Our brains crave activities that provide accomplishment, growth, or connection. Without these elements, we experience time wasted, because neurologically, that's exactly what happened. So what's the deal? You're confusing numbing with restoration. The fix? Design your relaxation around activities that truly restore energy rather than merely distract you. Choose active relaxation, reading, creative hobbies, nature walks over passive consumption. Set time limits on digital escapes and create evening rituals that genuinely recharge you. Schedule one restoration activity daily that engages your mind or body in a low-pressure, enjoyable way. Remember, scrolling feels easy but costs more energy than it gives. Habit number 3. Is your physical space making you feel stuck? Speaking of energy drains, let's talk about something surrounding you right now that might be silently sapping your vitality. You wake up, step over clothes you've meant to put away, navigate around stacks of mail, and search through cluttered cabinets for morning essentials. By the time you leave for work, you're inexplicably tired. Later, you return home, and despite wanting to relax, you feel a persistent heaviness you can't explain. Research from Princeton found that people with cluttered spaces experienced decreased focus and increased stress hormones compared to those in organized environments. It's like Walter White in Breaking Bad. Those transformation occurs alongside his deteriorating living spaces. As his life spirals into chaos, his once pristine home becomes increasingly cluttered, mirroring his mental state. The disorder both reflects and amplifies his internal turmoil. What's happening? Your cluttered space is creating mental chaos. The solution? Systematically declutter your primary living spaces to reduce visual and mental noise. Start with areas where you spend the most time, removing items that no longer serve a purpose. Create simple organizational systems requiring minimal effort, and designate 10 minutes daily to reset your most used spaces. Remember, your external environment directly reflects your internal state and vice versa. Habit number 4. Why do you feel drained after making decisions? Now let's explore something we experience dozens of times daily that might be silently depleting your mental reserves. It's been a long day of countless work decisions. Now you're standing before your refrigerator, staring blankly, unable to decide dinner. Or maybe you've spent an hour browsing streaming services, unable to commit to anything. Somehow these simple choices feel overwhelming. Studies show judges are more likely to deny parole later in the day after making decisions, regardless of case merit. Our brain's prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision making, literally tires from overuse. When we subject ourselves to endless choices without systems, we're like athletes running sprints all day, then wondering why we can't perform at night. Our mental muscles fatigue like physical ones. Every notification, every minor decision, every task switch depletes this finite resource. What's happening? You're suffering from decision fatigue. The remedy: create decision-making systems that eliminate unnecessary choices from your routine. Prepare meals in advance, create capsule wardrobes, establish standard procedures for recurring tasks, and batch similar decisions. Schedule important decisions earlier when your mental resources are fresh, and delegate or automate low-impact choices. Remember, your willpower isn't infinite. Treat decision-making energy like the precious resource it is. And now, for that counterintuitive point we promised, a supposedly healthy habit that might actually be depleting your soul. Habit number 5. The healthy habit that's secretly draining you. You've done everything right. Your calendar's filled with self-improvement, that language app, meditation practice, workout routine, journaling habit, side hustle, networking events. You're constantly optimizing and tracking progress. Yet somehow, beneath all this healthy productivity, you feel empty, running on a hamster wheel rather than living. This creates a confusing internal conflict. You're doing everything the self-improvement industry recommends, yet feeling increasingly disconnected from joy and spontaneity. Our optimization culture has created a paradox. We're so fixated on improving our future selves that we've lost the ability to experience our present selves. Just like Gattaca's Vincent Freeman, who optimizes every aspect of himself to overcome his inferiority, we've become obsessed with constantly upgrading. Yet despite succeeding, there's a hollowness in our quest for perfection. We've lost something essential. What's really happening? You're suffering from toxic self-improvement. The antidote: create a balanced approach to growth that includes deliberate periods of non-optimization and self-acceptance. Schedule regular, good enough days where you suspend improvement efforts, limit active goals to 1 to 2 areas at a time, and practice unconditional self-acceptance alongside growth. Ask what truly energizes you versus what you do because you should, and realign accordingly. Remember, self-improvement isn't about creating a perfect future self, but helping your present self live more fully. Which of these 5 soul-draining habits hit closest to home for you? Drop a comment with a number that resonated most, or share your own energy vampire we didn't cover. If you're interested to learn more about self-discovery, then be sure to watch our video about toxic reality of good vibes only mentality to learn more about the power of you. See you there.